Yeah, just make sure that we're on levels. Yeah. Yeah, literally my job is always like measuring the camera up just to go up and down, and yeah, it's like an exercise in itself for me at this point. Do you know no one's there? Like, I'm not even in the gym and it's like that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with Whitney Johns. Whitney, it's actually my first time actually interviewing you. I didn't get a chance to interview you last time at the launch event. I mean, you know, generally how you've been feeling over the past couple of weeks. I know it's a generic question, but obviously this is your first dip at this, if I believe to be correct. So how's the whole experience coming to London, you know, training, like how you been feeling overall?
You know, it's funny because all throughout fight camp, it's sort of like you have bipolar.
Okay.
Because you 1 minute you're feeling like, fuck yeah, I got this, and then 1 minute you're like, oh my gosh, can I do this? You know, so you'll have these.
There's like a saying. What's that saying called? Imposter syndrome. Is that what it is?
A little bit, where you're like, oh, and I think all of us have that a little bit. We're all novices coming into this and putting on a really big show, and not most of us not having ever done this. So. Of course, you're going to have moments of self-doubt and like, oh my gosh, can I actually pull this off? So, but this week, I am like surprisingly just super calm and confident, feeling really strong. You know, it's funny, my coaches, and my boyfriend is one of my coaches, and they said just trust the process. Like you're kind of white knuckling, you're having a crash course in boxing, but like trust the process. It's all going to fall into place exactly at the right time, which is exactly what's happened. So. It's good. I should have trusted the process all along.
Yeah, it should have been the case. That's what you're here, right? So that's the vibe of why you're here. So obviously, you know, going back to your background just for a second, because obviously you just mentioned that your boyfriend is in combat sports and all your coaches, you've got a lot of support there. You do a lot of fitness as well, fitness modeling. How does that all compare to this experience? Because obviously being your first boxing event, you've been around combat sports for a long time coming. I think since you were 16, I think you were really getting yourself involved. So how did that involvement in terms of being interested in it, and you know, what led you to being here?
It's so funny because I've always had sort of a fascination with combat sports and a major respect for it, anyone that's a fighter. But after going through a real fight camp like this, I have just even more massive respect for fighters because of how grueling it is. Like, you literally have to eat, sleep, breathe it. And so, if anything, it has just addicted me to a point of no return now.
It's like addicted to like chocolate or something, and it's like you can't turn back.
Like, am I a masochist? Maybe, because, you know, it is hard, and it can be really trying at times, but I think it's such a cool way to grow in every element as a human if you put yourself up to a challenge. And maybe it might not be combat sports, it might be another avenue, but this has definitely been kind of feeding my soul for sure.
So when Kim Ping called you, like, what was the conversations like to get you to this point? Like, was there a phone call from Misfits or Kim Ping? Like, how did it all come about for you to get here?
My manager called me and said, hey, there's this tournament, and it's over in the UK, and it's interesting because I'm the only girl from America in this tournament, and yes, we have the Jake Pauls of the world, but there's really no other like female influencer boxers from America, like not a ton of crossover there, right?
Yeah.
It's more.
I mean, there's international. I mean, obviously your opponent Barbie from Australia, but yeah, not many in terms of
not
America.
a ton of in US, and it's not that big over there, I guess. So I was sort of like, wait, is this something I really want to do? And I've always, like you said, I've been around combat sports and a fan of combat sports for so long. I've always wanted to do it, but been like, you know, am I really going to go get in there and like get my face busted up, and like, is there a good enough opportunity? And it was such a cool opportunity and a unique opportunity that Kingpin was putting on, the amount of time and energy and money they're putting into the production. So it was sort of like, why not? Like, let's do this. I'm never going to get another chance like this to actually get in there and actually test my skills for real. So.
And it's unique in a situation where regardless you're going to be fighting all the way through the tournament. There's 3 fights guaranteed for you. So it's not like just one fight and then you're waiting for a couple of months. So I guess it's like the biggest test. You're in there in the deep end straight away, right?
Right, and like the only way out is through. Once you sign on, and that was such a big part of the decision making. I'm like, do I really want to do this? Because like, you are committed for months and months of your life, and this will be your life. But it is interesting, the tournament format, because it is sort of like this cast of characters. You kind of get to see how everybody interacts, and you get to follow this journey and this story, and it's all very interesting and very different, unique individuals. So I'm really excited.
Well, speaking of your opponent, Barbie, I saw your face-off yesterday. And it was interesting because obviously two different parallels, two different characters. When I spoke to Barbie at the launch event, because what I noticed when you said about, her makeup and her whole vibe is like a facade. And when I spoke to her, it was kind of like she was mentioning about this was always been a thing, like she was a kid and, growing up with it, and this like influences that got her there. So it's not just like on a whim and stuff. When you look at Barbie, like when you looked at her in that room, what were you seeing? Because I got to ask Barbie what she felt in terms of you, because she said when you were thinking of Elle as an opponent, it's like, well, you're not really thinking that far ahead. So for you, in terms of how you see Barbie, like how do you look at Barbie as an opponent?
I think she's going to be a really good challenge. I think she's really strong. She's got the height, the size, and I'm excited to get in there and go have fun. I try to keep it as respectful as possible, and I think from the gate she kind of came out just shitting on me and disrespecting me, so it was sort of like, okay, I guess that's how it's going to be. And for me, that's where I say that's where you're trying to play this villain character. If she had come at me a different way from the beginning, then I'm all about expressing yourself as an individual. But it's the energy that you bring with it that matters. So that's kind of where I'm coming from on that comment.
And then, of course, like, there's other women in the tournament as well. What would you predict for yourself should you win against Barbie this Saturday? Who would you expect to be in the semi-final and the final? Like, who would be sort of your ideal people that you want to be in that position with you?
I think Julie looks really good and strong, and she does have MMA and combat experience, so I think she's going to be a strong contender. I think Elle is a strong contender. She's got the experience. She's really good, and so those are kind of the ones on my radar. But honestly, there's so many girls in the tournament that I haven't seen much from their footage. They could be wizards. They could be amazing. That's why this first fight is so exciting, to see what people are going to actually bring out and what they're going to be able to pull off in the first fight. Then it will really be a better gauge on who can do what and who's capable of what.
And in terms of the men's side of things, like who you rooted for, like is there anyone that you're eyeing on in terms of who you got for the winning for the tournament, like the quarterfinals, like in general, what you vibing with?
You know what? The men's card is so stacked. I think everybody has their own attribute, and I feel like they could all pull it off, honestly. I mean, I think Winderson looks really good and really technical.
Sorry?
Winderson looks really
good,
good and really technical. But a lot of them, I mean, they're all really talented. The whole guy roster, I'm like, all right, we'll fucking see, because this is going to be really interesting. Yeah.
So, I mean, final question, after all this is said and done, I mean, obviously we're only in early stages, you haven't got to your first fight yet. Are you thinking already that, this could be my future in terms of like, being more involved in the boxing world? I mean, obviously combat you're already involved with already. Would boxing be another avenue that you want to continue on after this?
Possibly. I mean, obviously we'll see how this all goes, but I love it so much, and I do want to squeeze the juice out of it. I am older than a lot of these girls, so I don't know how long. I mean, it's not like I have this long career in boxing ahead of me necessarily, but I definitely feel like I could be down for more fights after this, for sure.
Well, it'd be interesting to see how the rest of the week goes with you and Barbie on stage. I mean, character versus character. It feels like there's a headline to it already. So I'm looking forward to seeing your fight and what the future looks in this tournament.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Nice